Hello there.
Good.
What is it?
What up, y'all?
Hope you enjoyed that video, Flip.
Hey, that's a cool video, man. How do you mix it up like that, though?
I forgot about that song, bro. That song is hilarious.
Out, though.
Do what?
What year did that song come out?
Oh my goodness, I don't even know. Lonely Island is so old. I don't even know.
Hey, you probably weren't even born, bro.
Flip, I was probably born. I'm like 20, almost 29, dude. I was probably alive.
Bruh. Hey, I'm almost 10 years older than you, dude.
Yeah, so you were alive too. That's Lonely Island. They're
Bruh.
not that old.
Yeah.
They're not that old. They wouldn't have, those songs would not, Lonely Island songs would not have been put out in, before, before, before they came out. Those songs are not
Yeah.
good for the
Hey,
older
how
generation's
did you get a
ears.
picture like that?
What?
Yeah, you just like use Photoshop, huh?
No, I had to use my phone and a few different apps.
Oh, I see. Hey, look, Sprite Cranberry says, "Let me up." You know what? I like Dr. Pepper, bro. Dr. Pepper. That's
I'm
why I
more
like
of a,
Dr. Pepper. If it's a soda.
yeah, I'm more of a root beer guy myself.
Amen.
This Sprite. Oh, I got me this diaper bag.
Aw,
Alright,
hey,
give me like
when
15 to
live,
20
it
minutes.
was fire, dude. That was a fire live. Like literally, like almost like 60 people came in, and hey, it was an amazing live, dude. Fruitful. Let's just say fruitful. Y'all. Hey, hopefully we don't get no Wi-Fi problems today, right? Everything goes smooth.
We shouldn't. I would think we'd be all right.
Yeah, it'd be good.
Yeah.
He was able to come up. Now, if he
Uh-oh.
stays paused, like he did, like he did
Hey,
yesterday, well, then we'll just get kicked off.
Ryan, how do you get your voice like that? Like, how do you turn up the mic like loud?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, I'm talking to Arnold.
Are you talking to me?
You're
Are
talking
you
to me.
talking to me?
Yeah.
You
What are y'all
talking
talking
to me?
about?
Oh, nothing.
Talking about
Like,
get down, get to the chopper
Get
now.
down! No!
Yeah,
Get down
yeah.
the ground!
bruh.
Oh my Lord, have mercy. Oh my God. Before we get down to the chopper, there.
Do it
Now we'll get down
now.
to the chopper.
So trust said, Lord,
What
have
in the
mercy,
world are y'all?
and you already had mercy on us, right?
Good morning, guys.
Y'all are
Good
Good morning,
morning.
y'all
Jesse.
are
Morning,
killing
Jesse. How
people.
are you doing
How
today?
you doing today?
Oh my Lord, have
Right.
mercy.
I just want to say that I love being a part of this panel. I love this live. Since I've started going to this live, I've been listening to the Bible more. I've been getting into the Word. and I keep seeing God move in my life, and it's because I'm getting to know my Bible. I'm getting familiar with my Bible, you know.
Amen. Yeah.
Say anything either.
What?
What's that?
What happened?
Amen. Amen. Hallelujah.
What?
That's good.
Yeah.
Amen.
Hey, it's all about Dr. Pepper
So,
then. Dr. Pepper.
Oh, Dr. Pepper, though.
so,
Yeah, I'm a
so,
regular. I'm a regular here, so just like I just wanted a box.
uh, you're a regular here. What do we normally talk about? Sprite cranberry.
The Bible.
Like what? Give me an example of something about the Bible that you remember us talking about.
No,
No?
I mean, is that not good enough? Or like,
I'm just curious. What do you recall us talking about?
well, yesterday you guys, no, maybe not yesterday. Um, y'all were arguing about something. I forgot.
What?
Hell, I'm
You don't
eating corn
remember?
dog.
That's all right. How many times would you say you've been on this live? How many times? Curious. What?
Like,
If this is who I think it is, she comes all the time. She just comes in different names. She's not lying. She does come all the time. She just comes under different names.
Who said she was lying,
No, I'm
Jess?
not saying I'm saying she's not lying.
No, I know,
If
but you said she's not lying. Like someone's assuming she's lying.
no, I'm saying if this is who I think she is, she's not lying. To the question.
She's not lying.
Which
She's not
to the
lying. She's
answer,
not
she gave you
lying.
the answer that she comes all the time. And I said, if this is who I think it is, she's not
Uh
lying.
huh. She's not lying about what?
this is who you think it is.
That she comes to you asked her if she comes all the time, and she said she does. And I said, if this is who I think she is, she's not lying.
I don't know. I'm not. I'm trying to figure out who thought she was lying. Anyway, hey, Sprite Cranberry.
I'm saying
What
nobody
what?
thought she was lying. I'm vouching for her. You're taking it out of context, Trap. Nobody said she was lying. I am saying she's not lying if she says who she is. You follow me?
Okay. No,
Okay.
I'm not.
Okay,
But it
okay,
don't.
then we're good.
No. No, I don't. I don't follow, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, Sprite Cranberry. What do we ever talk about on this live? I'm just curious what you remember us talking about, like ever.
How this is God and how the Trinity is like blasphemy and stuff,
No,
right?
no,
Oh,
we don't talk about Trinity on here. Okay. Well,
yeah. You can't turn the camera on if you have I guess it's like 200. You can go and then, but you can't turn your camera on at however many followers I have. Sorry, I'm talking in the comments.
oh,
Let's talk about Bible.
yeah,
Yeah,
we're
let's
gonna
talk
talk.
about Bible.
Yeah, we are going to talk about Bible
And I'll
100%.
just tell you, you're
Hey,
not going to get anything coherent either. So you can ask all the
yeah,
questions you want. You're not going to get anything coherent out of it.
yeah, all right. Okay, fair enough. We can figure it out. Don't worry. But I do have a question, Sprite Cranberry. How did you come up here without 1,000 followers? What country do you live in?
I mean, I live in
Huh?
the United States.
They changed it. They changed the chart. You just need
Oh, yeah?
300 now.
Really?
Wow.
Wow.
Know that. That's crazy.
Wow.
All that work I
Well,
put in when I first started, man. That's not fair.
300 guys.
oh. Okay. Oh, I see what she's saying. They changed it to somebody said 500, someone said 300, but I'll say this, Sprite Cranberry does not have 500. She has 400 and something. So the number might be 300 now.
It
Either
is.
way, I
It's
think that's
three.
why I think that's why she was saying something about she can't turn her camera on. So apparently you can't mess with your camera. You just can't turn on your All right. So, yeah, so um today we are talking about spirit, soul, and body. That
Amen.
is what we're going to be talking about today. Um, so, oh,
Excited for this. I haven't been in a live where y'all talked about it. I've missed every single one somehow. I've heard a little bit, but I'm
yeah.
here to
Well, I mean,
learn.
yeah. Well, I mean, I discussed that one quite a bit. Matter of fact, out of a lot of things that we discuss, I do discuss that one quite a bit because you'll run into several people um, that really they have they have no true understanding of who they are, and I say it all the time that we can use the word identity all day long, and you can. Um, I'm sorry, I'm trying to do like 10 things at once here, but you can use the word identity all day long and not really make a whole lot of sense on what you're actually talking about. And then you have people that can show you who you are without using the word identity, right? So it's not always about uh, actual. It's not always about the actual word that you're discussing. It's not always about that. It's about what the person is understanding what you're saying. And so constantly just saying the word identity, and I've seen it a lot where people say the word identity, like I've already said the word identity 20 times and I ain't said nothing but the word identity, right? So sometimes a person needs to be shown what it is that what you're telling them. And one of the best ways to do that is to explain spirit, soul, and body to them because we are a three-part being. And being a three-part being, being a three-part being, as a three-part being, it would be wise for you to know which part does what, or which part of you, um, has, I guess, if you want to say like a certain job or for you to understand which part, acts out what, or which part is the real you and which part is not the real you. It's very important. There's a lot of people today, they'll use the word me or the word I, and if you were to sit down and ask them, what do you mean I or what do you mean me? They're talking about their flesh. And so there's a lot of people, Black Hebrew Israelites being one of them, Islamic believers. That's just two different sects or groups of people that, um, and some that see it a little bit different, but for the most part, don't agree with spirit, soul, and body. Most of them don't agree that Adam and Eve died spiritually in the Garden of Eden. Most of them won't, and there's even Christians that will will not understand this, and and argue against this, and it's very clear why. But it's very important for you to know which part is which, right? And let's see. Oh man, I don't know what's taking my thing so long to come around. But that is why we were talking about that today. I just noticed, and there was a few people that were asking me about it in the DMs, and I just catch myself talking about it a lot in the DMs, and I just realized that maybe we just need to discuss it again, since there's a lot of misunderstanding about it. But if you were to turn to 1 Thessalonians 5:23, you will see there where it says, "And may your whole spirit, soul, and body be preserved blameless at the coming of our Lord Jesus." And so there's obviously a verse right there that has all three of them in one verse. And there's a lot of people that do not like that verse even exists. And then you have people that will argue about the three words that are used there, which it's only because it doesn't line up with something that they believe, and I get it, but to argue about it at this point is just foolish. The Bible is full of all three of these, even in the Old Testament. There's people that will say, well, spirit, soul, and body wasn't a concept until until we get to the New Testament. And it's like, guys, as things get revealed and understood as far as the Bible was concerned, they got written down. So even if that was true, that nobody understood spirit, soul, and body, you can see the progressive, like you can see how the Bible just keeps adding to itself to a point of understanding. And when Jesus was here walking on the earth, now we're at a point where people are asking, who is this man? And so people are like, well, that's the Messiah, of course, the Messiah that the Old Testament is referring to. And people are like, well, all right, okay, so no, it's not a Messiah. He's just a prophet, but not the Messiah. Some say the Messiah and a prophet. And then, then it's, well, that's God. It has to be God because of these reasons. And so people at that point are, trying to figure out who he was. Some people said it was Elijah. I mean, they're just naming anything that they could to try to figure out who this guy was. They just wasn't a regular dude. That was one of the main points. But today there are people that will say that, well, he was a regular dude. He just figured some things out, how to mess with the molecules in the air or something, But there's a discussion of who he is. And so this idea that there's no progression is just not true. People were little by little figuring things out, and they wrote them down. And so here we are at quote unquote the New Testament, and someone out obviously that we are a spirit, soul, and a body, right? And each one of them gets talked about throughout the whole Bible, but it doesn't become revealed, right? So when people say, well, spirit, soul, and body wasn't a thing in the Old Testament, and it's like, okay, first off, it is. But when you don't understand what you're reading, then you're, and this is the same type of people that if the Bible's not saying it, black letters on the white page, then it's not saying it. That's one of the problems there. So they're like, well, they don't say the word spirit, soul, and body all together in one verse in the Old Testament. So therefore, well, have fun with that. But we are a three-part being, and at this point, 1 Thessalonians 5:23 is making that clear. That's talking about all three of them, and our job is to figure out what those three are and where we fit in those three. Dre, what's up, bro? I haven't heard you say a word yet, man. Good or what? Benny? Okay.
All ears,
Anyone?
all ears.
All ears. All right. My Wi-Fi right now it is looking. Probably should have said this earlier. Yesterday I was having a problem with it, man, after that storm come through here. But right now it is looking 100%. So with that being said, I don't see any problems with it. But anybody got anything to say before we hop in?
Let's
Dive, bro.
go.
Let's dive in. Let's
Do
dig.
it.
Yeah,
let's
let's do it.
let's
I'm glad
dive.
that you're talking about this because we all need it. It's God sent. We all need it.
Yeah. So, oh man. All right. Let me get out of there. I don't know why this thing's taking so long. All right,
They're
let's do
working,
that.
Trot. I think it's all over the United States. The internet's been acting up, not just for you, for everyone.
Well, I'm
Because they're
just
working on the
mine.
towers and stuff like that. And every time they
Yeah,
do an
mine
upgrade.
wasn't. Yeah, mine
Have
mine
y'all
wasn't
heard?
working up.
Sorry.
No, what?
Have y'all heard that there's going to be an emergency alert on all our phones, whether your settings are set to off or not, on October something? Have y'all heard about that?
No. All right. You know what? I think somebody sent me some kind of video that was saying, like I don't know. I think the video just kind of made it sound like a like like a Y2K scare or something. I don't know if anybody knows what that is,
They
but back in the
they've
day,
been
man.
they've been putting those dates out there multiple times. Believe you me, they've been, man. It's been one date right after another, and then nothing happens, and then they pick a
Yeah,
new
it's a little
date.
crazy.
It's
It's a little
it's it's
crazy.
it's it's kind of like Rapture. Hey, the
Oh
Rapture's
my
happening this
lord.
September. Oh wait, no,
Yeah.
now it's happening in April. Wait, no, it's happening this time. I'm like, okay,
Yeah, let's start
all right,
let's start arguing about it. Let's argue
It's a
about
little
when this thing's
scary.
gonna happen. Yeah, I don't know. I think what's scary is people aren't gonna learn to stop talking about it. I mean, it just be
yeah,
nonstop talking about it for no reason,
yeah, yeah.
But anyway, um, yeah. So I'll go over spirit, soul, body real quick, and then we'll kind of go through through the Bible where we see this taking place in so many other areas. So, uh, so I'll start with the soul. I'll describe the soul. The soul is the real you. Just like I said earlier, where people are saying, "Well, I," or me, and you asked him, "Who's the me?" or "Who's the I?" and they'll say their flesh, that their flesh is the them. And I'll say, okay, is that the real you, the flesh? Like, what's the real you? And then, of course, there's going to be questions on what you mean by that, because there's just a lot of people, for whatever the reason is, and we know it's the main reasons because we live in a fallen world, but people are not trying, they're not trying to figure out the differences between spirit, soul, and body. They're really not. And it's actually vital. And I'll say that again. It is vital for you to understand the difference. And so your soul is you, the decision maker. Your soul is the one that makes the final decision. Okay. And your spirit is the part of you that it's your root. Okay. Your nucleus, if you will. It's your root. So just like the Bible talks about, what tree bears good fruit, or what kind of tree is bearing bad fruit. So if you were to look at your spirit as the root of what you are, then it should be clear what kind of fruit is going to come from you, the tree. Okay? So if you want to look at it that way, that the soul is the tree, the spirit is what you're connected to, what your root is, and your body is the fruit. Okay? And if that's just one way of looking at it. So I'm going to go over it again very slowly. Your soul, we're all trees. Okay? The Bible calls us trees. Jesus said, I'm the vine and ye are the branches. So when I say tree, I'm talking about like the wood part, like the tree part, right? So a tree is not just the main trunk, the main vine, it's the branches as well. All that is the tree. That's what I'm calling the tree right now. So the fruit that comes off the branch would be your body. Okay? But you as the branch that's connected to the vine, right? Both part of the tree are still connected to something under the ground, the root. So if your spirit / root is bad, then the fruit's going to be bad. If the spirit is good, then the fruit is going to be good. That's what the spirit is. It's the deepest foundational part of you out of the three. The soul.
And even
what?
And even unbelievers have this. This is
Yes,
people in
unbelievers
general.
have. Unbelievers have a spirit too. So, the soul. So regardless if you're a believer or not, you have a spirit, a soul, and a body. So if someone is not born again, right? If they're not born again, then they have a dead spirit. Their spirit is dead. So if their spirit is dead, the fruit is dead. No matter what they do, no matter what the soul does, no matter what the body does, no matter what either one of them do, the fruit is bad. Okay? And we're not talking about whether an option there to be kind is there or not. So let me show you what I mean. So if, for instance, gravity is real, right? Let's see. So gravity is real. If you were to tell I don't know, we'll say a person who doesn't believe that anything about God at all, we'll say just an atheist person. If we were to tell an atheist person, well, you don't believe in God, so you can't use gravity or electricity at that, right? Doesn't gravity and electricity have their own law? right? So gravity and electricity, they're laws on the earth that we live in. There are laws here. If you are on a, 50-story building and you fall or jump, it doesn't matter, and you hit the ground, you will become unalived because the law of gravity will take effect and you will come unalive, period, regardless of what you believe, how you believe it, because this world we live in have laws. But would it make any sense if you were to tell an atheist man, oh, well, you don't believe in God, so the law of gravity have no effect to you, which means we're just going to see all the atheist people floating into space because they don't believe in God, they can't use the law of gravity that God put in place, right? So God put the law of gravity in place, and he put the law of electricity in place. I don't care if you're a believer of God or not. You grab a hold of a power line outside, you're going to electrocute to the most part to the point of becoming unalived. You know why? Because the law of gravity says so. You can't grab electricity like that. So it doesn't matter how well your intentions are. The laws are the laws. So even if you're falling off of a 50-story building and you're about to, you know that you're going to become unalive when you fall those 50 stories. But while you're about to fall down, if you reach out and grab a power line and be like, oh man, like it's going to help you, you're probably just going to blow up right there or just electrocute to the point of becoming unalive because you grabbed a power line that's giving off enough electricity to unalive you. So even though your intentions are well, like it ain't like you wanted to grab the power line like just for no reason. You were only doing it to save your life from hitting the ground. The laws are the laws are the laws. So the ground, you falling down, that may not have unalived you because you didn't get to fall down, right? But you became unalive before you hit the ground because you grabbed a power line. So I know it sounds funny to talk about these laws, but it kind of brings some things in perspective when people ask, so does a non-believer have a spirit, soul, and a body? Yes, right. But if they're not born again, they have a dead spirit. But just because they have a dead spirit doesn't mean that they can't choose to operate under laws. So I just went over some physical laws. So people that believe in God, we don't get the privilege of using gravity and electricity. It's a law that already exists, a physical law. And because you're here in this world, you get to use the law, period. And the reason why I'm bringing up laws is because they're spiritual laws that are already in place. For whatever reason, people don't see it, but love is a law. Anger and hate, those laws also. So just like a Christian at any given time can be hateful, it doesn't matter what the spirit is. They can still choose to be hateful, and they can still choose to be kind to somebody. It's the same thing with an atheist person. An atheist person can choose to love someone, or they can choose to hate them. These things are no different, okay? They're no different. The laws are already here. And that's what a lot of people, and it is true, a lot of people do not view it that way, nor do they see it that way. But it is 100% true. The
Trot, is it like that
laws,
picture that Dre put up the other day with the little angel and the little devil on the shoulders?
yeah, and the picture may not be 100% true, but it does help paint a picture in your head on what's taking place. So the other day Dre and we all seen this, in cartoons. Everyone has seen this, And most people know that it's true, but how to differentiate the three when it's talking to real life, you know, um, when it's talking about real life situations, it's just something completely different, right? So, you know, in the most cartoons, what you'll have is you'll have a person just sitting there, standing there, and on one of their shoulders there'll be like a, you know, like a cartoon devil, and then on the other shoulder there'll be a cartoon angel. Like one is saying one thing and the other is saying another. It doesn't matter if you're saved or not. Those two voices are there your entire life. Those two voices are there, and those two voices will always be there. And you will be the one that hears the two voices. Do you understand? The real you, not your flesh, your soul. The soul is the person. The flesh, which the body is the picture, the you know, the cartoon picture of Satan. That's the body. And your spirit is the little angel. Now again, this is if you're saved. If you're not saved, then on both of your shoulders you have the devil. That's what you have. If you are not born again, you have the devil, the little cartoon devil on both sides. There is nothing about you. Again, you can choose to do good. You can choose, you know, to love and to be kind. You can choose that because the law is here, but your root is dead. So someone can teach you how to be kind. You can see others that they're being kind, but deep down in you, there's nothing about you that is going to procreate good fruit. And you got to understand, it's the fruit that God sees that matters. You have to understand that. Not the fruit that we see. It's the fruit that God sees is the one that I'm talking about. Right? So
That goes back to being desolate, right? Our soil is dry, it's dead.
well, it is when you're not born again, right? So when a person is not born again, that they're desolate, right? They're dead. But I'm going over. I'm trying to go over real slow because, you know, some people it's the first time they've heard it, maybe the second, and you just it's not always. It doesn't have to always be, you know, fast and straight to the point. So if you've heard this 2 or 3 times on the live, you're just gonna have to slow down with everybody else until we kind of get there the way we get there. So I went over soul for the most part, even though I'm really going over all 3. I'm just kind of going through there slowly. So the soul is the real you. Okay, it's the real you. It's the one that is trying to hear what it needs to do. It's the one that asks questions. What do I do? How do I do this? The flesh, now we'll do the body next. The body is the part of you that what the body calls enmity to God. It is the seed of Satan. Okay, your carnal mind, your flesh is the seed of Satan. And so when people don't understand that, they're like, no, it's not, you know, because they see it as them. They don't understand. And so the Bible, so many ways, talks about how our flesh is enmity, which means hostile, 100% against God. Your flesh is. That's why Peter couldn't stay up 1 hour with Jesus. Say your spirit is willing, but your flesh is weak. And so there's always a part where deep down, if a man is trying to be good or trying to do good, he tries to use his body to do it. And your body has its own will. That's what you have to understand. Your body wants to do its own thing. It has its own will, its own emotion, and it likes to do things based on it. And so, it doesn't just tell us that our body is enmity to God. It also tells us that our body, in our flesh, there is no good thing. And this is what Paul tells us, that there's no good thing in our flesh. And so when you do something that is good, okay, when you choose to do something that is good, you're using a law that God put into place, something that is good. So an atheist person can still make a good choice, just like they're able to use gravity. They can get into an airplane. An atheist can get into an airplane and he can defy gravity using that airplane. You don't have to be a Christian to defy gravity. You don't have to be a Christian to have electricity in your house. Okay? You don't. Everyone can use the laws. It's no different with love, hate, patience. It's no different. People can choose to use these laws. The difference is when your root is not born again, when your spirit is not born again, then those things that you're choosing to do, you're doing them through your own works. You're doing them through your own will, which means they're probably not being utilized correctly. And let me show you what I mean. If a man is not born again, and he has a dead spirit, and he's married, so he's got a wife, and he's got 2 kids. And let's say that they hardly fight and argue. It's just not a big thing. They're not fighting. They're not arguing every day. There's other people that they do it every day, like breathing, and it's natural to them. I'm talking about people who don't do that every day. We could say, oh, man, that man loves his family. And you can say, okay, all right, he loves his family. All right. But let's just say that guy doesn't have any friends, okay? And then you just curious, hey, man, like, why don't you have any friends? And he tells you, well, I don't like people. Well, you should already know and I've met someone like, I'm actually describing a person that literally tried to make me believe the way he believed. Like, I just could not understand what he was trying to tell me. Like, it just didn't make any sense. But he was telling me it's the truth, right? And so I was like, hey, like, I don't get it. I don't understand why you don't have any friends at all. And if you know anything about the Bible, God calls us his friend. Now, again, these are people who were born again, okay? But someone who is not born again, who has not taken a hold of their inheritance in the name of Christ, okay, you're not God's friend. Just letting you know that. Matter of fact, you're not born again, so you haven't even been created in the image and likeness of God yet, period. You haven't. So, but he was trying to make me believe that because he quote unquote loves his family, then because you understand he don't believe in God. This guy, the one I'm talking to, he doesn't believe in God, and so because he loves his family, that he has love on the inside of him. Like he's trying to prove to me that he has God living in him because he knows how to love. And I said, I told him that's not love. Just because the way you're saying that you love your wife and you love so because you don't mistreat them, you love them because you don't mistreat them. I said, that's not love. I said, what if somebody hurt someone in your family? Would you love them? And he said, absolutely not. And he went as far as to tell me that he would make them suffer more than they made his family member suffer. And I said,
Wow.
do you see how you're answering that? And you got to understand, what he thinks love is. He thinks love is what him and his family have. He thinks love is his wife, his 2 kids, and there's no problems. He thinks that's love. He doesn't understand forgiveness. I said, because you don't understand forgiveness, then you don't understand love at all, 100%. You don't, not even a little bit. And so the reason it was so easy for him to hate as quick as he started hating, the reason it's easy for him is because his root was dead, the spirit. Do you understand? The root. Therefore, the fruit is going to appear just as the root. The exact same thing is going to occur. No one is ever going to be able to mock God and say, you gave me a good spirit, or I'm sorry, you gave me a bad spirit, and it's your fault. No one's going to be able to point their finger and tell God, it's your fault, God, that I am the way that I am. It's your fault. You're not going to be able to do that. I understand that you're in your head here. You can intellectualize, right, and trick everyone to believe that that's true for you when that day comes. But it's not true. The day of reckoning is a fact, and everybody will have to have a discussion with the Almighty about what occurred while you were here. Now, I will say this, and you know, because a person who is saved, your discussion with God is not going to be the same as someone that's not. All right, this whole idea that he's going to sit you down and scold you about certain things you did while you, I understand where people get that from, but the truth is he sees you as Christ is. So it's not, when people say, watch what you're going to say, because, you're going to be held accountable for everything you say. And I'm not going to go through that, but you need to be real careful when you tell people that, because you're kind of making it sound as though there's a type of punishment coming against them, and there's not going to be, not like that.
Would that
God is
be,
not dumb.
would that be performance based or works based?
Well,
Then,
no, that's what people are turning it into. They're turning it
yeah, that's what I mean.
into God is looking at, so God is looking at your performance. And so because people are not seeing the whole picture, they just see these verses that make it sound like you're going to get the business when you get to heaven, and they're compartmentalizing. When it comes to God, you cannot compartmentalize things. It's the whole picture. Are you saved? Yes or no? Are you as Christ is? Yes or no? And before you know it, you can see as Christ is. You can see it. All it takes is one goofball to compartmentalize a verse or two, right? Which means they're taken away from the totality of the story. They're taken away from it, and they're saying, but this says right here. As soon as you do that, as soon as you try to compartmentalize, you are not understanding what you're reading. You literally become the person that just missed it again. You're missing it. So I don't want to get into it in detail, but there is a big picture. And if you're just focused on a small part of the picture, you can focus on a small part of the picture so much that eventually that's all you can see in the picture. So it's no different than someone that puts themselves under the first covenant, right? So you have these first covenant believers. They only believe in the first covenant. They only believe of the law. That's That's all they believe, and that's all they see is the law. They can say they see and believe other things, but the truth is they don't. All they see is the law. You tell them to talk about the law, they could talk about the law for like 4 days without taking a breath. But you tell them to talk about Jesus, they couldn't talk about Jesus longer than 10 seconds. And if it is longer than 10 seconds, because they stayed up all night studying, but they can still only talk about them for 10 seconds, maybe 30. But you could tell what they focus on because that's what they talk about constantly. That's all they can say is the same old first covenant. Do you still sin? You still sin. You still fall short. When you focus on that, Bubba, that's all you can see. And you don't see the bigger picture. You don't see the purpose of why the law was given. You don't see the purpose of it. You don't see that Christ came to fulfill it, and not just fulfill it like a lot of people are saying. He didn't come just to perfect the law, to fulfill it that way. No. He added to it. He's the rest of the law. He is the spiritual law. The law said not to commit adultery. He said, if you even think about it, you've sinned. You understand? The physical law was given to a physical people to tell them to physically behave. The physical law was never given to make your spirit resurrect. Never. It couldn't do it. It was physical on stone. Why do you think it was etched on stone? That's the stony heart that was removed. There's so many symbolisms there, but Jesus, Jesus is the fulfillment of the law. He took the law to its complete truth. He showed you that the law is easier to break, even what you thought it's easier to break. So you don't have to commit adultery physically with the woman. In your imagination, if you did it, you sinned. Do you understand? He brought the imagination part back into play, which was here from the very beginning. The flood occurred because the people's imagination was evil continuously. That's why the flood happened. It had nothing to do with them physically sinning. It was their imagination that was the problem. Sodom and Gomorrah was the same thing. He told Lot and his wife not to turn back. And it says, well, Lot's wife turned back, and she became a pillar of salt. That phrase, turn back, in Hebrew, when you translate it in English, it means to think intensely about. It goes right back to imagination. It's making it very clear from in the Old Testament that the imagination was the reason. And so, now we have this physical law, and people are forgetting that it's always been about imagination. They got so instead of focusing on the bigger picture, all they could see was the law. And to this day, there are people, that's all they can see. And some of them are Christians today who could pass a test, and they can tell you a lot about Jesus. They can you give them a piece of paper with questions, they can answer them. But if you listen real closely to what they say and how they say it, they end up talking performance-based themselves. They go back to a physical thing rather than a spiritual. And so God's not looking at your physical performance. He's looking at your imagination. And your imagination, that's going to depend on where your spirit is. If your spirit is dead, meaning your root, if it is dead, then your imagination is dead. And we're talking about life and death in the Bible. Right? We're talking about life and death in the Bible. The Bible tells us, I set before you life and death. And then God gives you the answer. He says, choose life. I set before you life and death. The Bible's all about life and death. And our job is to figure out what is life and what is death. And so when you come into agreement that God is life, then eventually you're going to have to come to agreement that you have to have God in your life in order for you to have what's called life. And I'm not talking about your physical body walking around this world, not in the ground, right? You're walking around. So you're like, what do you mean? I'm alive. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the life and death that the Bible is talking about. That there is a such thing that is light, and there is a such thing that is dark. It's true, it's real. And your spirit is either dark or it's light, right? It's either good or it's evil. But the easiest way to discuss it in this world, it's either alive or it's dead. Okay? We understand those words here. If I tell you that Mrs. So-and-so passed away yesterday, and I tell you, can you come to the funeral? And you say, yes, I can come to the funeral. The reason that you're agreeing to come to the funeral is because you understand what I meant when I said she passed away. We're going to go lay her in the ground. She is dead. We all know what that means. If you don't understand what that means when people say your spirit is dead, if you don't understand what that means, then, maybe this isn't the topic for you. Maybe it's, everyone should understand that. But your spirit being dead, it means that there's no life in it. And the only life that exists is Jesus. That's why he said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. He is the life. There's not 10 lives. There's not 10 gods, and you can choose which one lives in your spirit. There's only one. And if you don't have that life living inside of you, then your spirit is dead. And if your spirit is dead, then the fruit that your body produces is dead. So the soul doesn't have a chance. Even though you're a spirit, soul, and a body, if you don't have Christ living in you, meaning if your spirit is still dead, you don't have a chance. And that's how the people were in the Old Testament. So when you hear people talk about what was the difference, why was God in the Old Testament, schizophrenic, or why is there always death everywhere? And it's because mankind's spirit was dead. That's why. There was no life in them. Life did not come until Jesus came. That's when life came. And that's when life was given, right? Life came. Jesus discipled these men. He left, right? He ascended back to the Father. The Comforter was sent in the upper room on Mount Zion. And then they received fully, and I'm talking about abiding, right? Living. Now the Spirit lives in a man, lives, not comes upon or is in the man for a period of time. No. I'm talking about abiding, completely living in the man, right? And now we can be fruitful and we can multiply. Now we can be fruitful and multiply. So the body doesn't know how to be fruitful. It doesn't know how to multiply the things of God. The body knows how to be fruitful to the thing of death, right? Because the body is enmity to God, hostile. So it doesn't come into agreement with God. As a matter of fact, it's contrary. It's the opposite, right? So we talked about the person that has a little man on one side, that, little cartoon devil, and the other one on the other side is a little, cartoon angel or whatnot. And a person who is saved, that depiction is true, right? That depiction is true, right? The little angel is representing the Spirit of God, telling the person to do something that's right. And the little devil, which is the body, is telling the person made me mad, slap him in the back of the head. So the soul, the person that's sitting there listening to these two voices, has a choice to make. Do I listen to the body, right? This thing is enmity to God, hostile, not in agreement. Do I listen to the body that's telling me to slap this person in the back of the head, or do I listen to my born again spirit that's telling me, hey, just love them anyway, walk away, leave it alone, there's no need. And you're like, well, I'm going to slap them this time. Or you say, you know what, man, the heck with that. It ain't worth it, dude. I'm walking away. You have a choice in the matter. But with that being said, hopefully so far the picture of spirit, soul, and body, hopefully that's painted over a little bit, and I'll go over it real quick. On this one, I'm going to say fast. So the soul is the decision maker. It's the one that's listening to the flesh, and it's listening to the spirit. And when two of those come into agreement, that is what you're going to do. That's the decision that's going to happen. Two will always outnumber one. So if your soul, comes into agreement with your flesh and tells the flesh, you know what, that's a good idea, you're probably going to slap that person in the back of their head. But if your soul says to your spirit, you know what, that sounds like better advice. I'm gonna listen to that. The body cannot make you slap somebody. You have to choose to do it. The body cannot make you not forgive someone. You have to choose to do it. You have to come into agreement to one of these, right? God is not going to enter your body and force you to do the hokey pokey dance up there stage at church. It's not going to force you to do that. You see people jumping around doing cartwheels and backflips at church just because they choose to. It's not because the Spirit's forcing them. If you start slapping people in the back of the head when they make you mad, the devil did not get inside you and force you to do that. You're choosing to do it. Any decision that you've made, whether good or bad, it was because you chose to do it. It's not because someone forced you. The devil nor God, can force you to do anything. So when people, praying, Pastor, can you please pray? Can you please pray and get the devil off my back? The devil's not on your back, first off. It's your flesh that you're battling with, your flesh. And fasting is very important. If your body gets, if you were to jot down every time you made some sort of decision, I'm saying it's the type of decision where your soul is looking, you're looking right and left at your shoulders. Like, do I listen to what the little cartoon devil is saying, or do I listen to the little angel? Which one do I listen to? I want to do this so bad. I want to do both of them. I want to slap that person and give them. I want to do both. Every time one of those kind of decisions comes and you make a decision, if you were to jot down, okay, on this day, this time, I listen to the flesh. On this day, this time, I listen to the spirit. If at the end of the year, you listening to the flesh trumps over you listening to your spirit, then you can say you have a problem with fasting. You need to fast, and you need to be able to start telling your body no. At some point, you have to be able to start telling your body no. You have to tell your flesh no to something. And I'm talking about food. I am not talking about, well, you can fast from smoking. You can fast from, I'm not talking about any of that. If you're going to fast, the thing you need to start fasting from is food. I say this all the time. You need to fast from food because your body, because here's the thing, fasting from a cigarette, okay, your body doesn't need a cigarette to live. It doesn't. But you know what it does need to live? It needs food to live. So, okay, well, maybe I should fast from breathing. That's not going to be a very long fast. You're going to wake up and be like, what? God's going to say, hey, I told you, I said before you life and death, choose life. Obviously, that was the Satan telling you to fast from breathing so you can die. Some of the stuff, guys, is actually common sense. Okay, look, but food, you can go, for some people it's 30 something days, and for some people they can make it to 40, but you can go a whole month without eating. First of all, I'm not telling anyone to go a whole month without eating. But what I'm saying is you can go a whole day without it. Now, if you have medical issues, then obviously I'm not talking to you. I'm talking about healthy people who does not have medical issues. Okay. I'm saying if you want to start combating your flesh, meaning telling your flesh no, like I'm not going to do what you tell me to do. If you're going to go to war with your body, then that's what you do. You tell it, hey, tomorrow, starting at this time, ending at this time, we are not eating. That's what you do. And you stick to it, because as soon as you give in, your flesh just won again. And it's proven that you can't control your flesh. Matter of fact, the flesh is telling you, I control you. I tell you what to do. And you have to go to battle with it and tell it, no, you don't. You don't tell me what to do. I tell you what to do. And it's going to say, prove it. It's going to tell you, I've been running your life for 20, 30, 40 years. And you think all of a sudden you're going to tell me no? This is the battle. And I'm saying that to say, when people defend, when they say I or me, and they're like, no, this is my flesh, and they're always trying to defend their flesh, it's your flesh defeating you again. It's telling you what to say, how to say it, when to say it. And you're like, no, this got to be the real me. I'm telling you, if you want to separate the soul and body in your head, if you really want to separate and see the two separate, if you want to see that, you tell it ain't going to eat a whole day. And then you guess what? After that time frame, that 24 hours, eat something. No big deal. But in a very short period of time, you need to tell it again, all right, this time it's 2 days. And everyone has a different limit. Most people, 2 days is hard when they start. The 1 day is really not hard. 2 days starts getting hard. When you get into that third day, that's when I personally, that's when I knew, like, oh man, this is my first time doing it. And you can tell, it will make you believe that you're going to starve, and you have to stick with what is true. If you haven't eaten in 36 hours, if you don't understand how the human body works, you need to go learn before you do this. You need to know what truth is, not what your feelings say. What is the truth? Are you going to die if you don't eat for 3 days? That's what you need to do. When you come to the understanding of the truth, which is 100%, you are not going to die if you don't eat for 3 days. If you don't come to that truth, then you're not going to make it 3 days, because your feelings will control. You're going to feel like you're going to die. And so you're going to eat, and then you're going to rationalize and intellectualize why you just had to go eat. And I did it for 2 days. That's good enough. And I'm telling you right now, that's all on you. But you have to be honest with yourself. If you know that your flesh got the best of you, then that's when you know, okay, I still can't control. And they're like, well, they did. They controlled it for 1 day. I always tell people this: 1 day don't count. I don't count that 1 day. It don't count. It's a start to tell your flesh no, but I don't count. 1 day is day zero for me. That don't count. But I still call it day one. But it's day zero, man. But if you do 48 hours, I will say that you fasted for 1 day. Okay, we can call it 2, but with me, you only get credit for 1, because it's easy not to eat for 24 hours. Like, that's just so easy. Now, you're going to feel it, right? You're going to feel it, but it's just easy. You start doing 2 days, that's when you're starting to notice, like, it's not that easy.
Hey,
But day
Trot.
3, that's when I remember. Yeah, what's up?
Hey, what about that part when Jesus said, "Don't let nobody know you're fasting"? like you wash your face and all that.
What about it?
Well, it's like you
What
don't
about
want to
it?
let anybody know you're fasting. It's just between you and God. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, at the time. Yeah, at the time that you're doing it, right? Like I'm not fasting right now. Uh, at the time that you're fasting, what would be the purpose of you telling anyone? You understand? So again, the motive, you know, um, the motive is the issue. Like there's no reason that you have to tell any what what.
Oil, because Jesus said to do that. And I said, no. And she said, you're picking and choosing the Bible.
I'm coming. I got it. You good? I got it.
Steph, your
Yeah.
reception's bad. I'm looking at your little red bars right there. Like your reception's not that great. I got most of what you said though.
Try.
Yeah, no, you're fine. It happens to us all. What's up, Ben?
I was gonna say it. Another thing with that is if you're fasting and you running around moping and looking sad, the flesh is still whooping you because you're supposed to be counting it all joy, right? You're supposed to be walking in glory. You know what I mean? And the winning spirit, right? So if you moping around, because that's what they're doing. That verse was, talking about their countenance. That's why I say wash your face and be of a good countenance.
Yeah, yeah, and I'll say, if it's the person's first time or second time, and they may be a little mopey, right? But you know, and it is true. It is true 100%. You're not supposed to be moping and acting like, oh man, it's so bad. Okay, but if it's the person's first, second, or maybe even their third time fasting, let them mope. At least they're not eating. Like you got to control at least one thing, and that's what I'm saying. At least the food. So if you're like just sad and mad all day, you know, you're finally punching your flesh back. Now what Benny's talking about is your flesh is still winning because it's in its feelings, and I get that. But here's the thing, though: if it's been
Which
3 days and you're like, yeah, what's up?
well, I mean, so in a sense, so men can say, "Are you fasting?" You know what I mean? So you can. It's like getting praise from men. Oh, he's fasting, so you can let men know you're fasting. That's what I mean.
Yeah, yeah, and we're not supposed to do that, and that's 100% right. But just let's look at this part of it. If they truly are fasting, let's say they haven't eaten for 3 days, and let's say their fast ends like in 6 hours. In 6 hours, it will be so. It's been 30 hours they've been fasting, and they get to eat in 6 hours. If they made it that far, right? They're winning at the moment. Like they are kicking their flesh's butt. But the reason why they're moping is because they still haven't learned that this is the reason for fasting is so you can tell your flesh no. So your flesh is not winning with the food. It can't make you eat food, but what it can do is make you use your feelings in some other area. Like, well, you need to be sad. Yeah, you're right. I just need to be sad because I haven't eaten. So yeah, the flesh may be winning in one area, but you have to understand for the first time in this person's life, they're finally deficient in another area. So you're not going to win at everything at once, but win at something. And I'm talking about food. So let's say that you're telling everybody you're fasting, like, oh my God, this is so hard. I get it. But if they make it those 3 days, you have to understand they still told their flesh no for 3 days is the point. So there's a win. And in order for people to get used to winning, you have to start winning at something. And so once you start controlling, right, and this goes all the way back to harnessing your emotions. Once you start controlling your flesh in one area like food and you're telling it, no, I'm not going to eat. You don't understand. The whole purpose of this is so you can harness your emotions. That's the one of the main points of fasting, is because your physical body has feelings, and if you don't know how to control them, it will control you, and you will fall apart like a $2 suitcase. Every chance that it gets, it'll make you fall apart, and you'll cry and beat yourself up over every little thing. You know why? Because your body, remember, we're talking about spirit, soul, and body, because your body has been your boss. It has been telling you what to do your whole life. It has been your personal bully. No matter where you go, there it is. It will create stories in your head. It will create stories. And because you're too stupid to have a good time, you'll believe the story. And then you'll go get on to your friend. Well, because da da da, whatever it is. And your friend is like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? I'm telling you, it will create stories. And because you have not learned spirit, soul, and body, you think that flesh, you think all those thoughts are your thoughts. And there you go, attacking everybody, because you don't understand this. You don't understand that we're a three-part being, and your soul gets mocked by the body, by the flesh, all the time. And it will embarrass you to the point that some people won't even talk about God, because the flesh is like, man, it's dumb. Why are you talking about that? And you're like, oh, yes, massa. Yes, massa.
Yes,
Why am I
man.
talking about that? Huh?
Hey, Trump. I wanted
Yeah.
to say this because I've done a 40-day fast before, man. It was a Daniel fast, but like the last week, it was just strictly water, right? Hey, during those times when you fast, you focus on the word and you stay, studying the word, and all that, and it will change your life, man, like spiritually, like straight up, man.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, what are we talking about right now? Like right now, we're talking about the Bible, right? So
Exactly.
for you
Yeah.
to fast and not be in the Bible, like, I'm not really sure what you're doing. Like, it'd be a lot easier for the fast to happen if you're focused on the word. So, if you think that you're just going to fast and not, but now I'm sure there's people that have done it where they didn't eat for 3 days and they probably didn't talk about the Bible at all. That can happen too once you start getting better at it. But why wouldn't you? I mean, that kind of comes along with it. Fasting and being in the Word, they kind of go two and two, right? Because
Correct.
the word is food itself, but it's spiritual food, right? It's honey to the spirit. The word of God is honey. It's a sustenance to the spirit. So they go hand in hand. Like, there'd be no reason for you not to be in the word, while you're fasting. But so but like, it's because we're talking about spirit, soul, and body. We talked about soul, or we talked about body, right? Fasting to combat the feelings, the five senses, what you see, taste, smell, hear, and feel. Your body all caught up in your physical body, and that's the part that is trying to make sense of God. And guess what? It never will until until your body becomes glorified. Until then, it is enmity, hostile, 100% against God. Your body is. That is not the part of you that got saved. When you get born again, your body doesn't change. Your physical body don't change. In a blink of an eye, something does change. And that's your spirit, which we'll talk about here in a second. But your body doesn't change. If you had a pimple on your face when you got saved, and you wake up the next day and go look in the mirror and you still see that pimple and you get mad and you go, man, it said everything's going to change. It's not talking about your body. Don't you understand? Your body did not get saved. Your body is still enmity. It is hostile. Don't you understand what the word hostile means? It's an enemy of God. Quit trying to make yourself believe that your flesh is okay. I'm telling you, your flesh is not okay, my friend. It is your soul that is okay. You're not understanding the difference between your body and your soul. Your soul is living in this body like an earth suit. All you have to do is picture yourself taking a ship from heaven. I'm going to use the word heaven, okay? And before you get in that ship, you take a carnal body, your soul does, and it enters that body, gets in the ship, comes over here, and now you have an earth suit. You understand? That's how your soul is able to breathe and touch things. It's no different than someone going to if we were to go to Mars and set up shop at Mars, we would have to be in a suit. Maybe for so long, but I think you understand the point. But you couldn't grab anything. You couldn't be on that atmosphere if it wasn't for that suit. But if you were to say to someone, yeah, this suit, this is the real me, nobody would believe you. That makes no sense. That suit is not you. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. The suit is not you. But because it seems so real and it seems so true, you defend it and fight for it. And you say, no, it is real. But it's not. That earth suit is how you operate in this world. But it is your soul that is making the choice. Do you understand? Your soul is choosing, I'm going to grab this cup. I'm going to walk across the room. I'm going to go over there, just like it would be you in a suit on Mars. The suit is dead. There's no life in that suit, but yet you need it. Don't you understand? Don't you understand? Just like God needed an earth suit. His soul was in that earth suit. That earth suit's name was Jesus. But God's soul was in it. Chew on that one for a minute. But anyway, so with that being said, we went over soul, we went over body, and there's so much more that I can go over, but I'm going to start going over some spirit here, right? So your spirit, when it becomes born again, it is God. It is 100% God, right? The Bible tells us the same spirit that resurrected Jesus from the dead resides in us. Resides, lives, abides, resides. The same spirit, listen, the same spirit that resurrected Jesus from the dead. What kind of spirit would you say that is? Just think about it.
Holy Spirit.
No. Let's not use those words. No, those words don't help, man. Those words don't. They help someone that already understands. But for someone who doesn't understand, those words don't help. You know what helps is to say it like this. When Jesus' body was dead, you have to understand now, it was dead for 3 days. So don't sit there and tell me it wasn't dead. Now, if you're one of them people that don't believe that, then this page is not for you. I'm not talking to you then. But for people who understand that Jesus did die and they believe it, he died. 3 days later, he resurrected. So spirit entered him and his body came back alive. And the Bible tells us that what kind of spirit is that? Ain't that something awesome? Ain't that something extraordinary took place? Wouldn't you say that spirit is a spirit of life, or is it a spirit of death? It can't be a spirit of death. It just brought something alive. You already had a dead spirit. So the spirit that resurrected Jesus is not dead. It's alive. So if the spirit is alive and it brought Jesus's body alive, and the Bible says that the same spirit that resurrected Jesus from the dead lives in you. Now, if it lives in you, Did something resurrect? And the answer is yes, your spirit did, not your flesh. You were not physically dead in the sense that Jesus was. Like, oh, Mrs. Poppins that I talked about earlier. We didn't take you to the grave and bury you. You were not dead like that. Your root was dead. We talked about the root, the tree, which is the main branch and the branches. I mean, the main trunk, the vine and the branches. That's the tree. And then the fruit. Your spirit became resurrected, just like Jesus's body became resurrected. You have to understand that your spirit is no longer dead. It is alive now, not dead. Now that it is alive, we have to conform our mind to the ways of the Spirit, right? So our body, understand, our body, the reason why it is dead and enmity and hostile to God is because when we were born, we had a dead spirit. And that spirit taught our body how to be. Do you understand? It taught it. So anything that is ridiculous about your spirit your body, I'm sorry. Anything that is ridiculous about your body, it came from your dead spirit that you had. So everybody wants it to be a light switch. They want it that when the spirit enters you and it resurrects the root, right? We're talking about your root now, that your root has been resurrected. What they want is they want their body to be resurrected with it. But that's not the case. Your body did not become resurrected with your spirit. Your spirit became resurrected because it was that was dead. So, our spirit that is now resurrected on the inside of us, if you're born again, is perfect. So we are a 3-part being, and 1/3 of you, if you are born again, 1/3 of you is wall-to-wall Holy Ghost. Holy Spirit, alive, no longer desolate, no longer barren, no longer in hope of becoming fruitful. Rather, a good ground. Now your root of you, the real, like the nucleus part of you, has become a good ground where seeds can be planted. So the foundation, like the lowest part of you, is soil. It's a good ground. And that's where God plants seeds. And now that we're a good ground, we have good seed planted in us that come from God. Because before, your soil was desolate. The real you had thorns and thistles and briars. You understand? It was a desolate, a barren ground, like a desert. Desert are not full of trees and fruits and vegetables. You know, when people say, yeah, but there's cacti there and there's this. Listen, Linda, calm down. You know the difference between a desert and a flourishing jungle. Don't act dumb. You know the difference. Okay? That's why a cactus has thorns. Don't you understand? It has thorns on it for a reason. Right? People say, yeah, but roses have thorns. My Lord have mercy. If you say you don't understand the difference between a desert and a forest, if you don't understand that, then this is not the live for you. I'm talking to people who do understand the difference, what the difference is. So, you know, we are a spirit, soul, and a body. And yes, in that order, first you have to put a seed in the ground. That's the spirit. And then the tree starts growing. That's the soul. And then there's fruit, the body. So to say body, soul, and spirit, that don't even make any sense. The fruit don't come before the tree. So it matters, trust me. In the Bible in its entirety, it matters. 100% it matters. But this is where people are not familiar with the Bible, and they're like, man, it don't matter. I could say soul, spirit, body. My Lord have mercy. It matters. Trust me, okay? This is not splitting hairs. You start with the man's spirit. That's where you start. Don't you understand? God starts at the soil. The parable of the sower that Jesus tells, he talks about soils, and he says they're man's heart, but he calls one of them good ground. And if you understand the Old Testament in its entirety, you know exactly what Jesus is saying, but you have to be familiar with the Bible. If you're not familiar with the Bible, then everything's riddles to you. And when everything is a riddle to you, then that means that everything that you think you know about the Bible is probably wrong, because everything's a riddle. Everything's hard to see. I don't understand. What is he? How come he don't speak plainly? Well, that's what the scribes and the Pharisees said. Tell us plainly. Speak to us plainly. Even the disciples kind of said some things like that. Why do you talk to them in riddles? What is going on here? Everybody confused. And the Bible says that Satan is the one that causes confusion, right? So they're like, oh, well, then Jesus is causing confusion. No, my friend. No. Life doesn't cause confusion. Death does. And because all these people are dead inside, right? The spirit is dead. It was Satan that killed everybody. He killed them in the Garden of Eden, right? It was him that caused confusion. Jesus is not causing confusion. No. People are already confused. That's why they don't understand what he's saying, because the confusion already happened. So when people say, well, how come you don't speak plainly? No. So now we're saying that Jesus is being trickery on purpose. That's what we're saying? No, buddy. No. The reason why you don't understand the Bible is because of what Satan did in the garden. That's why you don't understand the Bible. God is not trying to figure out how to trick you. He's being himself. And because your body is enmity to the spirit, you don't understand what's being said. That's the problem. Not God understands your body and he's like, all right, I'm going to put this in a way where I can just trick him. It seems that way, but he's speaking plainly. And if you understood the Old Testament, that would be understood. You would understand why Jesus speaks the way that he does when he's here, because that's how he speaks in the Old Testament. It's the same character. He doesn't change. So when people say, yeah, he does. No, he doesn't. He says everything the same way. He just uses different things in this world to say it, but he's saying the same thing over and over and over. He says the same thing. So, so we are a spirit, soul, and a body. The soul is the decision maker. It listens to what the body has to say. It listens to what the spirit has to say. And then you, my friend, you make a choice. The soul makes a choice. So in the Garden of Eden, just to get straight to a point here, God told Adam not to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. That's what he told him. And we know the story. A lot of us has read it a lot of times. Eve starts having a conversation, right? And we know it's the being that she's having a conversation with is called the serpent. That's what it's called, the serpent. But if you don't understand that The serpent is what sin is, right? The serpent is, because the tree is Satan. The tree of knowledge of good and evil, it's Satan. The tree of life is Christ. Life, tree of life. There's only one life in the Bible. There's only one. Now there's two when it comes to the carnal and the spiritual, but I'm saying as far as one true life, there's only one. That's the spirit of life, right? But there's two trees in the midst, tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and that is Jesus and Satan. Those are the two trees. I set before you life and death. Choose life. They didn't choose life. They chose death. God said, the day that you eat of that tree, you shall surely die. That's what he said, and they did die. They died spiritually. That's why their eyes were open. They were naked. You see the shame, the eyes open. Their eyes were open to carnality, what we call the body today, the part that is enmity to God. You know why it's enmity? Because the first thing they did when they heard God's voice is they hid. And the Bible tells us, how many times does the Bible tell us what we're supposed to do? Aren't we supposed to shine? Is it that we're supposed to do? We're a light on a hill. Constantly in the whole Bible, it talks about how we're supposed to shine, let the world to see us, the light of the world. But then they hid. They didn't shine. They hid. They didn't want everyone to see them. They hid. Throughout the Bible, hiding is a characteristic of Satan. It's not a characteristic of God. Elisha, after he unalived 450 prophets of Baal, he went straight to a cave and hid. Gideon was hiding the wheat in the threshing floor, and God had to come to him and ask him, "What are you doing, man of valor?" Elijah was told, "What are you doing over here?" When Joshua was taking over the land of Canaan, the 5 kings, this is the promised land, this is Israel. The 5 kings hid in a cave. Those 5 kings, these people were not God's people.
Hey, Try,
So
you
of
got
course,
somebody knocking on your door, sir.
oh, why is everybody falling off? What's going on?
What's going on, bro? I had to switch devices. My bad.
Yeah, I
Oh,
don't know.
no, you're good.
The internet and the app been acting up since late last night.
Oh, okay. Well, so yeah, so they're told, not to eat from this tree. We know the story. Eve ate. Eating is believing. I'm not going to go through, but they believed a lie. And to this day, your body is the seed of Satan. The way it thinks, you have to understand what I'm saying. The way that your body has been taught to think from your dead spirit before you were born again. Your body, the way it thinks, it's death. That's how it thinks. 5 senses. It only believes what it can see. It only believes what it can touch, right? That part is enmity to God. And so that's the seed that was passed down to man from the words of Satan. So when Adam and Eve, quote unquote, ate from the fruit, right? Ate from the body, if you will. When they ate that, it's talking about believing. Eating is believing in the Bible, right? Eating fruit in the Bible is believing. It's the same today. Life and death are in the power of the tongue. Life and death. Tree of life, tree of the knowledge of good and evil. I set before you life and death. Choose life. And then we get further along. Life and death is in the power of the tongue, which is words. The whole time it was words, this whole time. The fruit that you eat from other people is not apples, it's words. That's the fruit. So when they were told not to eat from the tree, they were told don't listen to Satan. Don't you understand? Don't listen. The disciples said, tell us about Satan. What does he say? He doesn't say his fruit is bitter. No, he said he's a liar. That's what he said. He's a liar. Don't listen. Don't listen. Don't eat. Don't eat of him. Jesus said, verily, verily, I say unto you, unless you eat of my flesh, you will never have everlasting life. Unless you eat of my flesh, his body, don't you get it? His body, spirit, soul, body. If the spirit is good, then the body is good and the fruit is good. The fruit, tree of life. If you don't eat of my flesh, my body, if you don't eat of me, meaning if you don't listen and obey what Jesus is saying, this is not talking about commandments, be good, do good. He's not talking about that. He is the tree of life. The tree of life is not telling you how good to be. In the New Testament, in the Beatitudes, Jesus is saying, blessed are the meek, blessed are the poor. Notice everything that he's saying. And we see the tree of life feeding people. That's what you see. You see people eating from him because eating is believing. Adam and Eve believed what Satan said. So when it says that and Eve ate, it's not saying that she grabbed an apple and took a bite with her teeth. It's saying she believed what Satan said. And she gave those words to Adam. That's what happened. He said something to her, and she repeated it, and Adam ate, meaning he believed what Eve said to him. I know it sounds great to live in this fairy tale where Adam and Eve are running around butt naked and eating bananas and apples all day. My friend, that is not what's taking place. What you see happening in this world when it comes to people lying and people telling the truth, nothing has changed. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. If you tell yourself you are a loser, you're a no good for nothing, my friend, that's the same thing. You're eating. And let me ask you this. Where is that coming from? If you tell yourself you're a loser, where's that fruit coming from? Is that coming from the Spirit of God?
No.
Or is that coming from the spirit of Satan? Where is that coming from? Is that coming from a live spirit, or is that coming from a dead spirit? So,
And spirit.
yeah, so if you tell yourself that you're not worth a darn, and then you go tell somebody else that they are not worth a darn, if life and death is in the power of the tongue, then it's always been in the power of the tongue. It wasn't apples and oranges on trees, and then now all of a sudden it's words. No, God created the world with his word. It has always been words. Always. Satan was able to confuse Eve with words. Don't you understand? Adam said, I'm naked. God said, who told you you were naked? Who told you that? Why is he saying, who told you? Why is it so easy for people to believe that we were monkeys hanging from trees and eating apples and oranges, and we sinned because we ate forbidden fruit? Why is that so easy to believe? But the world that we live in is all about words. And so to believe that's actually what occurred, you know why you can't see it? You know why? Because of your body. The part that's enmity to God, that part cannot understand that. You know why? Because when you go read the story, the black letters on the white page says that she ate it. It says I've had people yell, it says the word ate. It says the word ate. Yeah, that's what it says. What does that mean? What does eating mean, man? No, man, no. Okay, bro. All right. Okay, it's very important. So we are a spirit, a soul, and a body. And in the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve's spirit died. And so because their spirit died, they had to be born again. That's why Jesus told Nicodemus, you have to be born again. And he said, how? How can a man enter back into the womb of his mother? What do you mean? And of course, this is where the ridiculous argument of water baptism. They're not talking about baptism. I don't even know why people even use baptism here, man. It's talking about born again. It's talking about birth. I'm not going to get into baptism. It's ridiculous. They're talking about being born again. The conversation, the topic is birth. That's the topic. Has nothing to do with baptism. The topic is birth, man. Birth. Period. The end. There's two births being mentioned. The birth that Nicodemus is talking about and being born again, the one that Jesus is talking about. There are two births being described there. Two. That's it. They're not talking about baptism. They're talking about births. Anyway, but in the Garden of Eden, is where the spirit died. Adam and Eve's spirit. Adam and Eve's spirit died. And so we have to be born again. That's what Jesus was talking about. So Eden means pleasant. So it's really the Garden of Pleasant. Is really what it's called. The Garden of Pleasant. And that's very important. I'm not going to be able to go into depth about all that. I might hit on it some more. But on the east of Eden, after Adam and Eve were exiled, right, from Eden, the Bible tells us that God put two cherubims on the outside of the east of Eden. Okay. He put two cherubims. So now you have an outside of Eden, and then you have the whole ground of Eden. Remember, the Bible tells us that God planted a garden in the east of Eden. That means Eden has a west, Eden has a north, Eden has a south. Eden is a big piece of property. You have to understand this. You cannot picture the Garden of Eden as just the Garden of Eden and there's nothing else around it. No. Remember, the garden was planted in the east of Eden. So let's just say that it's the whole property is 10 acres, okay? And we walk to the east of the property, and let's say that the garden is on the east of this property, and it's 1 acre. That means there's still 9 acres of Eden. Do you understand? The garden was planted on the east of Eden, on the east. That means Eden was already a soil before the garden was planted. Eden was already a soil, 10 acres of soil. I'm making up a number just so you can visualize this. There's 10 acres of soil, and it's called Eden, the whole 10 acres. And we decide, hey, let's go plant a garden. Well, don't you have to, where are you going to plant it? So if you're picturing that the whole 10 acres became a garden, you're missing something. No. It says the garden was planted east of Eden, not the west. So the garden that was planted in Eden is not in the west. It's not in the north. It's not in the south. It's in the east. That means that once we plant the garden, we can walk out of the garden and go walk the other 9 acres. You have to see this because it's true. Okay, it does matter. And so once Adam and Eve were exiled out of Eden, Okay. Now, what we see is, in a very weird way, we see three parts now. First, we had Eden. Then we had a garden. Now we have an exiled part. So you can say it's a coincidence, and that's fine. Go right ahead. But what we do know is there's three parts now to the story. There's three parts. There's Eden, and then there's the garden that's in Eden, and now there's exiled. There's an exiled part that Adam and Eve are, because remember, they're no longer in Eden, and not just not in Eden, they're no longer in the garden. Like they're the outside of this thing, right? So in a very weird way, you see three-part soil, a three-part land. That's what you see. Now, I'm not going to tell you which each one of them is. I like to keep some of the things a little, what's the word? Like a little suspense, I guess, in there, because I believe people need to go study themselves. But you should be able to see a spirit, soul, and body depiction there. And if you don't, then, you just need to go study some more. But we'll just keep the coincidences going. And I guess we'll just see how long you ride along with the coincidences then. So throughout the Bible, we always see men, God speaking to men, talking to men doing stuff in this exiled world, right? And we get to a point where a bunch of people are told to make a tabernacle. And a tabernacle actually has three parts also. It has an outer court, an inner court. I mean, it's just, oh man, so much to talk about, man. It's just so amazing. We can call it coincidences all day if we want to, or you can just start noticing that there is something being told to us, and it's carried all the way through until Christ gets here. These weird coincidences. But the tabernacle actually has three parts also, right? The outside, the inside, and then the Holy of Holies. And then some people say, well, really, there's four sides. Okay, whatever, man. I'm telling you, there's three main parts, okay? And what's funny is Moses was told to build the Ark of the Covenant, but when God told Moses to build it, he showed it to him, and he says, I want you to build it the way you saw it. So I know it's hard at first to understand or maybe believe, but after he builds it, if you're familiar with the Bible, you know exactly what God showed him. He showed him Eden from the exiled side. So if you were to picture Adam and Eve being exiled out of Eden and they were to turn around, they would see two cherubims there, because that's where they were, two cherubims. And the Bible makes it clear that, quote unquote, heaven is basically a shape of a cube. Right? But this is where being familiar with the Bible matters. It does matter. So Moses saw a cubed object with two cherubims at the gates. That's what he saw. And so that's what he built. He built a cube object where he put two cherubims on top of it. He built exactly what he saw. That's
Man, I'm
what he
so glad
built.
you said that it was the shape of a cube. I said that once. People thought I was going out of my mind.
Yeah. So,
But it's what the scripture says. I'm just going by what the scripture says.
yeah, but I mean, it's just not always easy for people to see. But because we're talking about spirit,
Yeah,
soul, and body,
exactly.
I'm trying to show that, I'm just trying to show something that if you have a heart to see, you'll see it. And if you don't, then, you go back playing with your tambourines after we're done here, I guess, or whatever. Or leave now. I mean, whatever. There's other lives talking about other things. You can go learn about underwater basket weaving if that's important to you. Whatever you want. So the tabernacle is a 3-part thing itself. And in the Holy of Holies is the Ark of the Covenant, right? 2 cherubims. And everywhere that these cherubims or the Ark of the Covenant went, the thing that Moses saw went with them, no matter where they went, because it was there, right? And any time that Moses spoke to God, God told him, I want you to put the Ark of the Covenant here in the Holy of Holies, and I want you to speak to me from here. And he's telling them basically, oh, and by the way, he has to face the east. He has to face the east to talk to God from this object where the 2 cherubims. It's kind of like Moses standing outside of Eden and talking to God. The 2 cherubims, he's facing them, and God's behind them because he cannot enter into this place because we have a dead spirit, right? We became dead. So Adam and Eve, Adam was created in the image and likeness of God, right? Let us create man in our image and our likeness. So Adam was created in the image and likeness of God, 100%, okay? But when they ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, their spirit died. So the babies that Adam had, they were not created in the image and likeness of God. They were created after the image and likeness of fallen man, dead man. That's why every man had a dead spirit after Adam, because Adam's spirit was dead. So when he was, quote unquote, fruitful and multiplied, he multiplied death because he himself was dead. You cannot give something to someone that you don't have. Adam didn't have life to give to anybody. And I'm talking about spiritual life. He didn't have it. He was spiritually dead. So when people say, well, there's a difference between the image and the likeness, and I mean, it's like, golly, dude. Look, listen, let me make it very clear. When people say, let me just say this, if you are not born again, you were not created in the image and likeness of God. I'm sorry. So Christians, stop lying to people and telling them that God created them the way that they are. No, God did not create people dead. That is a lie. I don't know why you would say that to somebody. You want to talk about causing confusion? Why don't you tell them the truth, that they have to be born again? You don't tell someone God loves you and he created you like that. So if someone is in some ridiculous sin, you're telling them that God created them like that? Come on, man. Come on, do better, man. Stop lying to people. No, God did not create you the way you are. He didn't create you like that. Well, it said that we're made in his image. No. Adam was made in his image and his likeness. So this weird dispute, and this is how, when people bring this up, they tell on themselves. When you say stuff like that, you prove that you are not as familiar with the Bible as you claim. You're a liar. Adam was dead inside. It was him that was made perfect. He was, not us. We were not made perfect till we're born again. So when people have the argument that I'm not talking about the born again part. Oh, what part are you talking about? Well, I'm talking about the image. Oh, the image. So now they're saying that the image of God has always been on this earth. That's what they're claiming. That's funny, because the Bible tells us that Jesus was the image of the invisible God. I could do this all day about the image, and I can do it all day long, but I'm not. One day I will. I'm not sure what day. I think I'm rather enjoying the mockery I could just tell that you have no idea what you're talking about because you don't understand that the image of God was not here on this earth until Christ came. That is when the image of God was here, not before. So you're not understanding that God's heart has to make someone's flesh in order for the image of God to be here. And the two Adams, the first and the last, are the only two that were made in God's image directly, no sin. The first Adam was perfect. Jesus was perfect. Neither one of them had sin. Adam didn't have sin until he sinned, until he fell and his spirit died. Not sin verb, sin noun, person, place, or a thing, talking about the spirit. That's sin. I'm not talking about sin as an action. I'm not talking about the verb. This is how I know you don't know what you're talking about, because you say these things, which means you misunderstand the book of Romans. So now there's a whole book that disproves what you're saying. It's ridiculous. Stop lying to people. I know it hurts. I know it's hard to see, hard to understand. But if you are not born again, my friend, if you are not born again, you are not made in the image or likeness of God, period. Jesus was the image of the invisible God. So if you say that people, I don't care if you're which one you're claiming. Oh, well, we didn't have the likeness, but we had the image. My friend, listen to me clearly. No, you did not. Because now you're saying that the image of God was here before Jesus. It is not true. We were not the image of the invisible God. That is a lie. Jesus, the last Adam, which came directly from God's heart, just like the first Adam was made, created from Eden, the soil. Oh, man, dude. Not familiar with the Bible, and you want to go argue with someone, but you're not familiar with the Bible. You're hurting people. You're lying to them. Jesus was the image of the invisible God, not man, no man before him. Adam was the first. He fell, and that's why Jesus is called the last Adam, because he was made directly from God's heart. We were not. We came from fallen Adam. It's really not hard. So we talked about the tabernacle. After the tabernacle, we know that the temple was made. And I'm going to go straight to Solomon's temple, okay? It also had three parts, outer, inner, and the Holy of Holies, right? So the Holy of Holies, spirit, right? The first inner, soul, the outer, the body, spirit, soul, body. You see three parts, tabernacle, three parts. But Solomon prayed for wisdom. The Bible makes it very clear that he got wisdom. It makes it very clear. So Solomon was a wise man because of the Spirit of God. That's what wisdom is. So he had wisdom is what he had. But it wasn't residing in him. And you know that's true if you see some of the things that Solomon did. I mean, you could just tell. It's not, people love to say that the Spirit reside and lived in people. That is contrary to the word. No man in the Old Testament had the Spirit of God living inside him. Christ had not yet died. You know, absolutely not. People were not holy because they were good. People were holy because their eye was focused, their imagination was focused on the right thing. But if the Spirit of God would have lived in a man, that man would have became unalived in a very short period of time. They would have died, period. So that's an argument for another day, but it's just ridiculous to believe that. Someone helped you mess it up. I'm going to say that. If you don't understand that, I don't know where you got this from. Someone helped you really screw that part up. So Solomon, being a wise man, he prayed for wisdom. He had it. We know wisdom comes from the Spirit, right? And under wisdom, he built the temple. Under wisdom, meaning the guidance of wisdom, just like Moses. Moses was shown the Ark of the Covenant, and he built what he was shown. So Solomon, under the guidance of wisdom, because he had wisdom, he built the temple. And it's not a coincidence that the temple looks like a garden. It's not. We have to go over the garden again. Hopefully not. But it's not a coincidence. If you go study out the temple that Solomon created, it looks like a garden inside of there. It's not a coincidence. That's why Paul said, know ye not that ye are the temple? That's funny. So we are the temple. The temple looks like a garden. So I'll say it boldly like I always have. Do you not still see? Do you not understand? More than likely it's because you're not familiar with the Bible. That's why you need to hurry up and get familiar with the Bible so you can see who you are, so you can see what you are. You need to see it. And I'm not talking about with your body. Your body is going to tell you that is not what it's saying. That is not true because it's enmity. It's hostile. It hates the way of God. But that's why you fast, right? So you can bring down the stronghold that's there and make it obey and obedient to the truth, regardless of how it feels, regardless of what it thinks it sees. There's something else there, right? Know ye not that ye are the temple? Well, how can you be a temple? How? You're a physical body, right? You're a spirit, soul, and body. How can you be a temple? I don't know. The temple's a three-part. The temple is the outer, inner, and holy of holies, right? Spirit, soul, body. Outer body.
Amen.
Inner soul. Inner, holy of holy, spirit. If you are not seeing this, you are not understanding what you are reading. And it's probably because you haven't been discipled. Jesus said, go ye and make disciples. A disciple is just someone that is learning how to receive from the Spirit. That's it. And once that gift is given to them, once it's given to them, nobody can ever take it away, ever. It's kind of like equipping someone learning how to swim. You show someone how to swim, they will never be afraid of water. But you hide that gift and you don't teach them how to swim, they'll run from every puddle they come across. But you teach someone how to swim, you've empowered them. So once someone is empowered with the Holy Spirit, when they're empowered, they could see, right? They become descaled, their eyes become open, and they can see what the Word is telling them. There's no more fear in life because you've given them the one thing that's been taken away from them as a byproduct of God's creation, which was Adam. We're a byproduct. Adam was created by God, but because he fell, we're the byproduct of Adam. Right? So the creation through Adam continued, but it continued in a fallen state. That's why we have to be born again. It did not continue in the same state. But we are a three-part being, a spirit, soul, and a body. And the whole time, God is trying to bring us back to him. And he just does it in such a miraculous way. And so it's not coincidence, right? That when the two Marys went looking for Jesus at his tomb, there were two angels there at the tomb. It's not a coincidence that the tomb is in a garden. It's not a coincidence that they thought Jesus was the gardener. So here we are. Watch this. Two people searching for the tree of life in the garden, and there just happened to be two cherubims there in the garden. But now, and it's not a coincidence, their name is Mary. Both Mary, by the way, both. So, Deborah, Ashley, I'm sorry your name didn't make it in the Bible, because it's not about the name. It's not about the physical name. It's about the meaning behind the name Mary, Mara, bitterness. Everyone is bitter, Mara, searching for the tree of life. Every one of us. Everybody is bitterness. In the Old Testament, Moses, they come to this lake of water, this water, and it's called Mara because it was bitter. They couldn't drink it. So he cried out to the Lord, and it says the Lord showed him a tree. Imagine that, a tree. He showed him a tree, and when he put the tree, he cast the tree into the bitter water, it became sweet. Now they're able to drink it. So the Bible is constantly pointing us to a truth that it is you that is bitter. It is you that's a dried up well. And Jesus said, I'll give you water that you'll never thirst again, because he's the tree of life that you have to cast in to your bitter water. And it's a coincidence that the two women, first of all, not just one, two, that both of them's name is Mary. That name literally comes from the word Mara. It means bitterness. That's what the name means. That's why Naomi in the story of Ruth, her name, her Naomi means pleasant. That's what Eden means. Eden means pleasant. The garden of pleasant. And Naomi said, call me no more pleasant, because God has done bitter with me. Call me Mara. Or the word that she used means bitter. And I think she said Mara. Forgive me for not remembering the exact words. But is it a coincidence? Her name is pleasant and she wants to be called bitter now. Because it is the truth. It is the complete truth of what happened. Us as a byproduct of Adam, the beginning of how everything started. It started with pleasant and went to bitterness. And then the Bible just so happens to constantly explain to us that in order for the bitterness to become sweet, a tree must be cast into it. And when Jesus resurrected, two people, their names just happened to be bitterness. So bitterness went searching for the tree of life. And two cherubims were there. Because it was the garden. It was a symbolically representing us now able to come back in the garden. Where the gardener is, tending to our heart every day. The job that was given to the first Adam, now the last Adam has the job. The last Adam has that job, which is tend to the garden, which is our heart. Know ye not the year of the temple, and it looks like a garden? Know ye not that you are the Garden of Eden? Did you not know that? You are the greatest thing that God's ever created if you've been born again. You are the garden of pleasant. You're it. When Jesus received the Spirit, God spoke and said, this is my begotten Son, in whom I'm well pleased. Eden. Eden means pleasant, pleased. Jesus is Eden. The promised land, Israel, the land flowing of milk and honey, that was a physical, it was a depiction. It was a shadow of something to come. Jesus is Israel. Jesus is the promised land flowing of milk and honey. The bitterness turning sweet honey. Right? That was at the tomb. So there's a few minutes left. Does anybody on the panel's got anything to say? I probably should have asked that 5 minutes ago.
Ah, bro, you were on a roll, man. Just
Man,
Yeah.
we just
we're
we
just
just
we're
let you
just
flow. We let that river flow, bro. You just keep going, bro.
we're just taking
Yeah,
it
well, I
all
mean,
in.
it's just something that you need to go over this, man. Like you need to meditate over this over and over, because if not, you're either going to be confused or start having the same questions that you had a month ago. And I say this all the time. You cannot give somebody something that you don't have. Oh, my Lord, have mercy. You
No.
cannot give somebody, no, you're good. You cannot give somebody something you don't have. And, everything that I just went over, there's only 3 pictures in front of me. Or actually, let me see. 1, 2, yeah, 3. No, I'm sorry, 4. I have 4 pictures in front of me that I drew. You know, there's no words. The only words on there is, let's see, tabernacle. Okay, so I one of them I put tabernacle because it's a little different than a temple, but not much different. So I have tabernacle written on this picture, temple written on the other one, but they're just a little bit different. And I'm not going to explain the differences because it's really irrelevant to what we're discussing. But there's no paragraphs or anything in front of me. I have this memorized because it's rooted. It's rooted in me. It's part of me. Nobody could ever take this away from me because I understand that what born again is and what part of us is what is very important to understand this. And so I understand there's probably a lot of questions, probably from people in the comments. Can we please see them next week? See what, Jen? See what next week?
The pictures, probably.
Yeah, matter of fact, I'm telling you, man, I could talk about spirit, soul, and body for 2-3 weeks straight. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, no joke. Yeah, we probably need to, I'll tell you what, I don't know if we'll do it Monday or not. Matter of fact, we could have a, man, we could have
Try.
a two-a-day.
Try.
Yeah, what's up? What's up? Yeah.
I have all those pictures on the Discord server too. Like everything we've talked about, some of the pictures that I've drawn out, and some of the stuff that you've drawn out. I have all that on the Discord, so people can just check it out in there if they want as well. It's easier, so they can just there's no downloading or emailing or anything like that. They can just grab whatever they want.
Yeah, let me, can you do a two-a-day today, Dre?
Yeah, I should be able to do a 2 day today. And also, I was gonna say, try when you were talking about the tabernacle. Not that it wasn't like completely relevant, but it hit me like a ton of bricks, bro. Because I was just thinking, I'm like,
Uh,
bro,
Me too.
the high priest had to go into the holy of holies, and he had to take off his shoes, bro, because he
yeah.
couldn't redeem. So he couldn't go to the holy of holies without taking off his shoes because he wasn't the redeemer. But then when we are born again, it said that we come before the throne boldly. That means we go into the holy of holies boldly now because we are born again. So it all just hit me at one time. I was like, yo, well, duh. I don't know how
Yeah.
I missed that.
Yeah. Yeah, man. There's so much there. I really just wanted at least to, I guess, hit the main parts because all the intricate details, they do nothing but strengthen, everything that was said today. But we can do a two-a-day today if you want to. Let's see.
What time, Trot?
I'm gonna say probably 4. Drake? Can you do 4?
That's 3 my
4
time.
cent. Yeah.
I
What?
usually gotta get Levi from school at 3:15. So I can get on. I'll be on. I won't probably get on to like 4:30 your time.
All right. Let me see. Well, then let's do 5. Then we'll do
That
5.
that'd be 6 o'clock Eastern time, 5 o'clock
Yeah.
Central,
So all right,
four
guys. So
o'clock
we're gonna
Mountain,
do. Yeah. So we're
two
gonna do.
o'clock
Listen.
Pacific.
We're gonna do 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock Central time.
That would be
Jesse makes
six
me
o'clock.
laugh, bro. Jesse, hold
Why?
on. The only time that matters is Texas time. Haven't you figured that out yet?
Well, I know. I just do it so that the people in the chat can have an
I know,
understanding.
but Trot is always like, man, I don't care about your Eastern Standard or Mountain or Pacific.
I
The only time that
know.
matters is the Texas time, Bubba.
I know. But
Yeah.
Chart doesn't
Just
mind that
type
we.
it. Just
I
type it.
know.
Just type it. Just type it
Okay.
in.
Okay,
Type
sir.
it in.
Okay.
Let people read it. So look,
Yes,
I'm
sir.
just so
Yes,
we're
sir.
because I don't want no one to
Yes,
get
sir.
confused. I don't want no one to get confused. Look. Me, myself, and my spirit, soul, and body. I am going live at 5 o'clock Central Time. It is up to you to do the math and figure out what time zone that is for you. That's why I constantly point at the time that I'm going live. I am going live 5 o'clock Central Time. We are having a two-a-day today,
Trot.
we might as yeah. What's up? Send it.
See, your spirit is going to the live, and you're dragging your flesh with you.
That's right.
Well,
Yeah.
let me say this: that if you guys understand spirit, soul, and body, what Trot just taught, then you kind of can start understanding why people, brothers and sisters in Christ, call each other brothers and sisters, because we literally have the same
Amen.
spirit inside of each other. Like, if you can't see that
Amen.
we're connected, something is wrong, bro. Like that's it's very clear. Like, we don't have the same flesh, we don't have the same soul, but our spirit, we're siblings, bro. It's the same spirit.
Yeah. So we'll go over. Um, I'll show some pictures and we'll go over it again and again. Just a bunch of times. I
But
don't
there's a
know.
lot
There's
of
a
new
lot of
people. There's a lot of new people that have
yeah,
joined also, Trot, that were not
yeah,
here from
yeah,
the beginning. So
yeah. And we're probably going to have to go over pretty soon, Dre. We're probably going to have to go over harnessing emotions again.
Such a soul.
Yeah, so we'll probably
Oh,
do
that's
a
one of my
2-a-day.
favorites, bro. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah,
Oh,
we'll
yeah.
I can't teach
yeah,
that
Yeah,
we'll
that's a
class.
few of us. We need that.
I haven't
Belly
We know,
mastered it
dancing,
Jesse.
yet.
That's a
We
few of
know,
us.
belly
Jesse.
dancing.
We know, Jesse.
Oh, you
Yeah.
guys need to stop throwing rocks. Everybody acts like they don't live in a glass house.
Hey,
At least I
building didn't
admit
say
my
anything.
faults. At least I admit my faults.
And
I'm
I
walking,
was
man.
including myself to get
I
that
know
class.
that I know
Nah,
that I
nah, nah, nah,
know.
nah, nah, nah. I only have glass windows. You have a glass house. There's a
I have a
difference.
glass house. I say it. And I'm the first one to always say it. If it wasn't for him, God only knows where I would be today. I am
And
grateful that
my windows are
he
hurricane
loves me
proof, by
so
the way.
much
Yeah,
that
I was gonna say, Dre. Everybody's got a glass house, but some people's glass are thicker than others.
you know, I'm
go.
grateful. I'm just grateful that his grace is there
Yeah.
to pick me up every time this flesh decides to not be obedient. And I'm glad that you mentioned the fasting because maybe I need to fast more. We need to learn that James, the book of James is not a big book, but he has a lot to say in there.
Oh
And
Lord, here we go. Now folks gonna be like, it's not me, it's my flesh. It's not
no,
me.
it is me. It's me because I'm
Yeah,
allowing my flesh
I'm
to
just
take over.
yeah.
I'm smothering the spirit. I'm like, come on, let's face it.
So we're gonna we'll pick back up on this at 5 o'clock Central Time. 5 o'clock Central Time, and we'll go over some pictures and talk about them a little bit. And I
And
don't
we'll
know.
just allow the
We'll see.
holier than thous on the panel this time. Only those that
The holier than thous.
only those that are so perfect
Oh,
that walk
I
the
don't sin
walk.
anymore, so I
yeah,
can't help you with
that's what I
that.
was about to say.
I no longer
That's
sin,
all
my
of us
friend.
in the spirit. So,
Yeah, yeah.
Well, listen, I do walk
Those.
in the spirit, but I'm not going to sit here and say I don't sin anymore because I do. I'm not. What do you guys want me to say? That I'm perfect? I'm not.
Does
If it
your
wasn't for his grace,
does your spirit sin?
my spirit doesn't sin, but this flesh,
Okay,
boy,
so you don't.
fights it every step of the way.
So then you don't sin. Then your flesh is
No, I
dead.
don't.
We need to talk about flesh being dead too,
yeah.
because
Well, let's do that
if
on the
you're
two a day, bro.
yeah,
Amen.
because if your spirit is born again, if your spirit is born again and your flesh is dead, just like the Bible teaches, then there's a misplacement on what we're saying when we say, well, I still sin. The I is the soul, and your soul has a spirit that's alive. Therefore, your flesh cannot kill your spirit.
Mm,
It'll
mm,
never happen. Your flesh cannot
mm.
kill your spirit. So I know it sounds foreign to say, what? You still don't sin? If you don't understand the book of Romans, which it's very clear who doesn't, but when you don't understand the book of Romans, you will continue to think that you still sin. And if you're not understanding what Paul's teaching is very important. Paul is not trying to talk about actions. He's not trying to discuss your actions of sin. He's talking about your spirit. That's the sin. If you're not born again, you are sinful to God. not because you commit actions of sin. It's because your root is dead. That's what is sin to God, your root. And if your root is alive, you are not sinful to God.
Amen.
So this is only understood when you get familiar with the Bible. If not, you're just going to be arguing like fools because nobody is familiar with the Bible and they're arguing with each other. The more familiar with the Bible you get, the less you'll argue. You'll see it because, you'll understand. So,
Trot.
but yeah,
Do you know Sprite Cranberry?
no, I do not.
Me neither. Hello, Sprite Cranberry. How you doing?
Hey, Trot, I was gonna add to that too. If your flesh, if your flesh action sins, we have an advocate with the Father, who is Jesus.
Yeah, yeah. And again, there's people, that claim that they're like, there's somebody in here. Oh man, I missed it. Somebody in here was like, man, that's not true. It don't take but 5 seconds. You just start talking to them about the Bible. They have no idea what they're talking about. And man, it is what it is. But anyhow, yeah. So, okay, guys, 5 o'clock Central Time. We will see y'all in a little bit. God bless. See ya soon.
God
God
bless.
bless.
Take care.
Amen. Amen.
Have a
God
good
bless.
day.
God bless, brothers and sisters.